Hi everyone, it's Bethany from Beth and Books and I'm so excited for this video. It is episode 26 of Wheel Chooses TBR, but stay tuned because I have made it a little bit different to how I have done it in the past, because you and I, we're gonna plan together a little bit of YouTube content along the way so you know what to expect in the upcoming videos. If you like this video and you like this series, please consider leaving a cheeky like and subscribe down below to help a small booktuber out. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, let's get through the admin of explaining how this is going to work. I am a self-declared library queen. I don't really buy books. I have a bunch of books still in New Zealand that I need to get over here, but it's been a year and a half in Australia and I've bought, I think, 2 books. So I go to the library. This means you'll see this version of me as I am spinning the wheel and figuring out what we're going to read, and there will be a different version of me who has been to the library and seen what I can actually pick up, because any of you with a library royalty out there will know that sometimes the book you want to read isn't in your library, even if you are signed up to 3 different libraries. So we're just going to do the best that we can do. So the plans that me might be saying may be different to the plans that her come forth with. The second thing to note is in the past I have just spun the wheel, I think 10 times to get 10 different books. In the spirit of me, first of all, I'll be completely honest, trying to get more content out there for you. It takes me a hot second to read 10 individual books plus whatever themed vlogs or reading challenges that I want to do with you. So this series is still my Wheel Chooses TBR, but we're taking a slight pivot in that I've got different wheels. I have a wheel for series, I have a wheel for vlog themes, and I have just a general prompt wheel for my individual books. So what I'm going to do is we'll trial it out. This is our first time doing it this way. I'm going to spin once for a themed vlog, and then we will go through and figure out what 3 books we're going to read that fit that theme. We're going to spin for a series, so either I've got a few new series ideas or it could be a pre-existing series I continue on with, figure out what books we're going with that one. And then thirdly, we can spin the wheel just to figure out 5 standalone-esque books. And by standalone, I'm meaning they could be part of a series, but they're like separate to any other content. They would just be in a regular little old reading vlog. Hopefully that made sense. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with the vlog theme. I am opening my vlog themes. You can see on the right-hand side here that I have a bunch of ideas. Please let me know if you yourself have any vlog theme ideas. I will more than happily add it to the list. But here we go. My vlog theme is ooh, tropes that I love. For a themed vlog, I tend to try read 3 books. So I'm looking for 3 books. Let me see what I can get and I'll get back to you. I packed all my books up to go to the library. Read that one. Never got around to reading that one. Never got around to reading that one. Read that one. It was shut. The library was shut. So this episode of Wheel Chooses TBR is unintentionally becoming all ebooks, because thank gosh I have this beauty of a COVID panic buy from a few years ago that I have been using quite a bit and have access to books on here. So I'm going to go through all the books I got just like I normally would, but I'm sorry I don't have a physical book. I'll be editing in the cover. Cool? Alright, so for the reading vlog, it was all about tropes I love. Instead of doing a whole reading vlog on one trope, because I thought that could accidentally kill my love of that trope, I decided to do 3 books with 3 different tropes I love. So the first trope I really love is an academic setting. If you don't know and you're new here, I am a teacher, and I think that has something to do with the fact that I love the academic settings. So for this book, I decided to go with If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Oh, I am shedding. So this is actually a mystery thriller, and it follows our main character called Oliver. Oliver was thrown in prison about 10 years ago, and then 10 years has passed. He comes out of prison and he is greeted by the very same detective who originally arrested him, and the detective wants to figure out what actually happened 10 years ago. Then we flash back, at least I'm kind of assuming we flash back to a Shakespeare like elite college of some sort, where Oliver and a bunch of his mates were the main cast for a production, a play, but then they all get replaced with like these secondary characters. Things get a little bit too intense and somebody's found dead. So I guess I've gone very much for like a dark academic vibe for this one. The next trope, I really don't know what to call it, but it's kind of like a female detective rom-com vibe. So I'm going with 4 to Score by Jenna Ivanovich. This is obviously the 4th in a big series. I have really enjoyed the first 3 books. I can't say terribly much without spoiling it, but basically we have our main character. What's her name again? It's been a while since I read the 3rd one. Stephanie. So her whole thing is she didn't have much money. She accidentally stumbles upon being like this bounty hunter, catching criminals, serving them their, what do you call it legally? You give someone a piece of paper and they have to go into court or whatever. She accidentally kind of stumbles into that world, and then each novel in the series follows her trying to catch someone else, but of course she gets wrapped up in it all. And then an overarching plot as well that goes in amongst all of this is this guy called Joe. Now, Joe is, can't quite remember if they just didn't get along at high school, if he's an ex, but either way, it's kind of a slow burn enemies to lovers. And in this installation, he's invited Stephanie to move in with him temporarily because she's broke, she can't afford her place. So that's that vibe. The last trope I've gone for is just straight up enemies to lovers. I love an enemies to lovers trope. It's just so good. And I've decided to go with Bride, which is Ali Hazelwood's latest release. I managed to find this. Hang on, I'll get it up for you. On this website called oh God, you're going to focus if I move my face? There we go. epub. I just realized it says epub. epub. They had a bunch of books on there, but this, as you can potentially see from the artwork, is a werewolf, vampire, classic paranormal, enemies to lovers. We have a daughter of like a vampire king higher up, someone important in the vampire world, who is forced to marry the like leader of the werewolves in the form of a peace treaty. Does it sound cliched? It really does. I'm actually surprised that this book was published sounding so 2000s vampire werewolf enemies to lovers YA fantasy, but I'm in the mood for that, and so that's what I've picked up. I'm honestly, as long as it's not too cheesy and cliche, I think I'll like it. I'm back. It's been a blip for you, but about 15 minutes for me. I should really learn to kind of categorize things by trope too when I'm adding things to my want to read list. I feel like that would help me a lot. And also, I bought some fried chicken on Uber Eats. So if you hear my rice going, I saved myself $3, girl math, to cook my own rice. But anyway, back to the wheel. I'm now going to spin for what series video I make for this round. On the right, there are 2 here, What the Hype and Reading Like, that I have currently been making some for, and I've got 4 ideas for new series, so I want to introduce those as well over time. So the series episode though that I'm going to make for this episode of Wheel Chooses TBR, episode 26, the new series, or continued series from the looks of it, is going to be What the Hype. I just had a great idea for this. What the Hype is a series where I spend one video dedicated on one book in which I delve into whether it's worth it or not. Could I do the latest Crescent City, Sarah J. Maas, House of Flame and Shadow book? The only question I have with this novel is, if I'm going to talk about this in depth, then I will be spoilering the rest of the series. So I feel like I could do this one. Let me know, team, because I could do this one, or I could do a couple of other books. All right, I personally have decided I'm going to read A Little Life. I, in all honesty, was trying to figure out which one to read. I've low-key started a wee bit of a book club with a friend, and I think I'm going to save that Crescent City till she's up to it, and I'll do a video on it then if you guys want me to. But I'm going to save till actually reading it when my friend is up to reading it. So I will do A Little Life. It's also one of the top 3 biggest books on my list. The top one is Stephen King's It, and I am not about to read that. And then, yeah, so we're doing A Little Life. You've probably heard about this so much by now, so I'm not going to delve into it in too much detail. Just to recap, there's 4 characters. We see them when they finish university, I think, or just classmates. Yeah, from a small college in Massachusetts. Is that how you say it? And we just see their lives diverge. Apparently there's a lot of trauma, every single trigger warning you can think of. I'm here for it. I'm going to have to choose the right time to read it though. All right. I wonder what I found at the library. Either way, the What the Hype book is going to be a thick book. So I'm going to stick to my 5 standalone Wheel Choosers prompts. So even though it won't be 10 books, it'll be 9 and one of them is huge. So let's get into the 5 standalone Wheel Choosers TBR prompts. All right, once again, over on the right-hand side, I have an absolute bunch of prompts. So let's do, oh, sorry guys, there we go. You're in screen now, hopefully. The first one, which is, another has an academic setting. Okay, all right. Okay, we're back with the academic setting. This one, I actually went to my Goodreads TBR shelf and tried to find the book which has the oldest addition to my shelf, was also fitting this trope. And I found The Livingston Girls. This is a book by Brianna Morgan. And on my screen, it actually has this, which I have never seen before on Goodreads. Oh God, it keeps focusing on my face. Do you guys see that message? Do you? This item does not meet our catalogue guidelines and can no longer be rated or reviewed, so I don't really know what that means. We follow Rose. Disgustingly, the start of this plot is that she had an affair with a teacher, which is disgusting, and I hope it doesn't romanticize that. But then Rose gets shipped off to a Livingston Academy, a stuffy old girls boarding school. She's only 16 as well, by the way. That's why it grosses me out, the whole affair thing. Ugh. We do have fantasy in here. The last thing on her mind is becoming a witch, but then the headmistress invites her to this coven, I don't even know how you say that. And then it becomes this thing where all the girls in the school, all the witches in the school don't like Rose, but they have to accept her because otherwise the boys' school headmaster is going to try and hunt them all down. So it's kind of like girls' school of witches, boys' school of not witches. I had a little bit of a war. Again, could be quite cheesy, but again, I'm in the mood for that. Okay, the next spin is a male author. Okay, that actually gives me a lot of leeway. There's quite a few things that a girl could do with that one. Okay, male author gives me quite a bit of scope to play with, so I went for the million-copy bestseller Richard Osman, who I actually only recently realised was on a TV show, like a comedy TV show. But anyway, Richard Osman's The Man Who Died Twice. This is book 2 in the Thursday Murder Club series. I don't know what I'm doing there, sorry. I loved the first book so much, and I am steadily trying to catch up on series, so that's why I chose this one. It centres around a group of people in a retirement home, but it's quite fancy. Then they're not like being pushed away and forgotten. It's a nice place to be. And there's a bunch of friends and they create the Thursday Murder Club, where in the first novel we learn about how they are looking through old case files, trying to figure out if the right person was caught and if not, who the actual right person was. And in each edition of this series, I believe this group is presented with an actual real life crime to solve. In this one, Elizabeth, who is one of the members, receives a letter from an old friend who is in trouble. Bodies start to pile up, things get intense, and the elderly group of friends try to solve it. I just don't read many books about elderly groups of friends, and I just want to be them, but I'm older, so not literally. But like, you know, I hope I have a small group of friends at least when I'm older. All right, though, spin number 3 of 5 for my standalone ones. Let's see what we've got. Oh, surely not. Nah, I'm not counting that. We're doing another one. Close. Again. Ugh, we can't do the same. I would just be bored. No way! What the heckaroonie? Close. I'm gonna shuffle. And then if it lands on award-winning book, we know that the wheel is too weirdly perfectly circle for the AI. Come on. Come on, be something different. Okay, there we go. There we go. Weapon on cover. I'm actually just gonna have a quick browse through my current rice. All right, I'm gonna have a quick browse on what I currently have on Goodreads just to see what there is with a weapon on the cover. Okay, I've got The Shadow of What Was Lost. There's swords on that cover. And I Do Not Forgive You has a hatchet, I think. I mean, I suppose you could say Burn by Patrick Ness has fire, which is kind of a weapon, but I'm considering a weapon basically something you hold and isn't dangerous unless a human is wielding it. Oh, Killers of a Certain Age has a knife, and Chain Gang All Stars has like a scythe on it. All right, for weapon on the cover, there are obviously quite a few options. I decided to go with Chain Gang All Stars, and the author of this is Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I'm really hoping I am saying that right. And the cover I'm looking at, it has like that scythe on it. It was the nominee for the Best Science Fiction for Goodreads in 2023 and the nominee for the Best Debut Novel, so I'm very intrigued by this. So, my understanding of this novel is we're in a prison system. It's very similar to America's prison system. I don't know this for sure, I'm just reading it off the blurb. And we have two female main characters. They are in love, but they are also really good gladiators together. So within the prison system, they fight, and there's all these brawls and stuff, and the fighters, the gladiators, are fighting for their freedom. One of our two main characters is able to be really close to getting free, so we see that half. And then there's an other side of the story we see outside of the prison where there are protesters. So it sounds like this is going to be a little bit more than just like a fighty slashy gladiator style story. It sounds like it's going to have some politics in it, which I'm interested by because I don't read terribly much heavily political stuff. Okay, random wheel choice 4 of 5 is okay, another cover war. I'm actually really not mad at those kind of prompts. To be fair, I'm not mad at any of them. But of all the prompts to get something where it's like a colour on the cover, it means that I've got quite a bit of choice. Okay, blue-green cover, just like the male author one, it gave me quite a bit of scope, especially when you consider that a lot of novels have more than one cover design. So I've decided to go with Cleopatra and Frankenstein. This is by Coco Mellors and was also a Goodreads Choice Award, nominated for Best Fiction 2022 and Best Debut Novel 2022. I remember seeing this all over bookish social media when it came out. I feel like the best way to do this and not mess it up is to read the first paragraph of the blurb. So we have 24-year-old British painter Cleo, who's escaped, interesting choice of words, from England to New York and is still finding her peace in the sleepless city when a few months before her student visa ends, she meets Frank. 20 years older and a self-made success, Frank's life is full of all the excesses Cleo's lacks. He offers her the chance to be happy, the freedom to paint, and the opportunity to apply for a green card. But their impulsive marriage irreversibly changes both their lives, the lives of those close to them, in ways they could never have predicted. It also says that over the course of this novel, they grow older and older, so I'm very intrigued and kind of excited to see a novel where the marriage comes at the beginning, and then we actually see them throughout the marriage. Alrighty, and the final Wheel Chooses TBR prompt is oldest on TBR. Let's actually take you straight into my Goodreads. Go to my books. Go to Want to Read. Date added. Now, by the way, was it already in the right order? Yeah, okay, it was already in the right order. So, by the way, I did actually already do a huge purge of books on my Want to Read list on Goodreads. So the list you see here The oldest one is, interestingly enough, Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, which I've already read, but I was actually wanting to do a reread. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to see if I can get my hands on Poison Study. Hopefully Library Me has been picking some good books. This is the last you'll see of me. Thank you. On with the show. I feel like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. On with the other version of me. Alright, so we've got Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, and this one is actually a reread for me. I remember when I read it the first time, it gave me Throne of Glass vibes, but more poison and less fairy. But there's still magic. Let me explain. Yelena is our main character. She killed a guy, she's in prison. She did actually kill the guy, she's in this horrible prison. And when she's brought out to be executed, it just happens to be chance fate that the previous commander's food taster had died from poison. And so it always gets offered to whoever was next in line to be executed. So she takes up the offer of being the food taster, and there's a love story involved here with the guy who trains her to be the poison taster. But then she also has this sort of magic, which is making the bordering, call them countries for simplicity's sake, want to come and take her. There's some evil magicians at hold. It's pretty dark, but it's also just one of those true classic fantasy suck you in novels. I wouldn't necessarily say it's enemies to lovers. It's more like circumstances being on opposite sides, but then they kind of like each other, and then it's friends to lovers. The romance isn't the strongest thing, I will say. Definitely the story outside of the romance is the main thing. Definitely look into this if you're looking for something, first of all, that's not really mentioned. You want to read something quite new. I've never seen this book talked about online before. But also if you just want like a quick, easy to read thing. So yeah, I'm excited to reread this, even though it'll be another series on the go. I've already read it, so it doesn't really count. All right. That brings us to the end of this episode of Real Choosers TBR. I really have hoped that you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed it. Looking at this list of books I've got now, I'm so excited by them. I think it's going to be so much fun, a really good reading list, a good amount of different genres and lengths in there. So, I'm looking forward to it. If you have any recommendations you think I'll like on novels, please pop them in comments down below. I always check them out, put them on my Goodreads shelves if I'm interested in them. And I do really appreciate the really not obscure ones, but I feel like you see the same kind of books all the time when you're in a digital space. Anything you don't see all the time, let me know. I'm really intrigued by those. But thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Enjoy all the places you go in your reading and life adventures, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.